Hello everybody and welcome back. This video today we are going to be going over Pathfinder builds. It'll be part of a new series just called Pathfinder Builds. The game I will be using to simulate these builds will be Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. It is the new game of Pathfinder that just came out. Of course, every build that I do here will also be able to be done in a tabletop manner. So I will not be covering mythic traits or your mythic path. There will be suggestions and hints for what it should be, but I will never force you or tell you what you should play as. Ultimately, your path in the whirlwind is up to you, and we would love to know how you played. So go ahead and let us know down in the comments. So let's go ahead and get started with the backstory. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started with it. Today we will be making the build called the Azata Freedom Fighter. The backstory for this character. Originally hailing from the land of Druma, the Azata freedom fighter lost their mother at an early age, and their father never came back from the world wound. Following this, they were kicked out of their family home to fend for themselves. It was during this time that they were taken in by a church of Desna and told stories of the great dreamer and the lands of Elysium. It was through these stories that they heard about the Azata and how they value freedom and friendship, and that would later develop into a life of trying to help others, and eventually just helping wasn't enough. So they took to traveling, helping who they could, and trying to free all sorts of people. During this time, they also picked up a lot of skills and a lot of things, mainly including how to make their alchemic mutagens for their abilities and classes that we will be choosing. With that backstory out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the build. For the build, we will be playing a custom character, Mutation Fighter, or Mutation Warrior. Technically, Mutation Fighter. Anyways. Now, this particular build will be covering one of two different ways you can build this. This works for both of them. You can build this using a melee build, or you can also build this with a bow build, which is what we are going to be doing is an archer build. For a little bit, I will be making references to what you could do differently to turn it into a melee class. However, once we get to the feats, that is where I am going to stop, and I will save that for another video. So let's dive right into it. As for your race, you can pick kind of whatever you want, but since we're doing a bow build, try and remember that the main stats you're going to want is going to be dexterity and strength. For the case of this, because we're going to try and maximize the efficiency of this build, we're going to go ahead and go with human for the features of the +2 to the ability score, +2 to an ability of their choice, and the feat and skilled, the extra feat is a big one. So we'll start there. For our background, now if you're going to do a melee build, go ahead and pick whatever background gives you a focus in that weapon. For us, we are going to be doing a hunter because of the longbow proficiencies. For your ability scores, now this here is where we get into the big one. So, by default, it's going to want you to go strength. You're going to want to move down here and move that to dexterity. You're going to want an 18 in dexterity, a 15 in strength, an 18 in dexterity, a 14 in con, a 10 in intelligence, and a 10 in wisdom with a 7 in charisma, with your race bonus going into your dexterity. So, we'll just go ahead and put that in. 15, 20, 14 in your con, oh, and an 8 in your charisma. That's weird. Oh no, 7 in your charisma, sorry. There we go. That is what it should look like for the bow. Now, if you're going to go ahead and be playing a melee build, this is going to look slightly differently. Obviously, you're going to want to take this dex, and you're going to move that up to your strength. And dex isn't really going to matter for a melee build, so you can leave that at 10, or you can choose to use it as a dump stat. Then you're going to want to bump your con as well. So your two mains are going to be your strength and your con if you're doing a melee build. Again, charisma is your dump stat, and intelligence and wisdom you can leave the same, or you can turn them into a dump stat and bump that strength up even higher. There's plenty of choices and a plethora of choices, but this is for an overall well-rounded archer character. Keep in mind that we use charisma because the face of the party is not going to be you, so when you're building your party, if you do this build, you're going to want to probably try and pick somebody to fill in with your charisma checks and be the face of the party. Next, we're going to your skills. Now, you're going to get 4 skills because of your 10 in your intelligence. So, to start with, we're going to main the 2 mains, and that's going to be athletics and perception, with your secondaries being nature and knowledge world. That is going to be your 4 ability scores. Always prioritizing athletics and perception over your nature and world. As for your feats, now this is the part where I said I'm going to drop us off. The skills will be the same if you're doing a melee build character, by the way. But the feats, this is where it's going to get way different. It's going to need a whole other thing. So by default, you're going to get 3 feats. The feats that you're going to be taking right off the bat: point blank shot, precise shot, and deadly aim. Now, for level 3... for level 2, you're going to want to take Rapid Shot. For level 3, you want to take Weapon Focus Longbow. For level 4, you're going to want to take Weapon Specialization Longbow. For level 5, you're going to want to take Point Blank Master for the Longbow. You can see a pattern here. For level 6, you're going to want to take Clustered Shot. And for level 7, Many Shot. For level 8, you're going to want to take Greater Weapon Focus Longbow. For level 9, Improved Initiative. And for level 10, Hammer the Gap. For level 11, Armor Specialization Light. For number 12, you're going to want to take Greater Weapon Specialization Longbow. For number 13, you're going to want to take Penetrating Strike. For 14, you're going to want to take Greater Armor Specialization Light. For level 15, you have your first Free Zone. Now, you can do all sorts of stuff with this. You pick the feat that you feel best fits your playstyle and to kind of round out your build. Everything we've done up to this point has been to make your character an absolute monster in combat. For level 16, you're going to want to take Greater Penetrating Strike, and that will be the last feat on your list that is a required feat. On the rest of it, 17 through 20, that's all you, baby. You get to choose whatever you want to do. Next, since we're in this, we're going to go ahead and open up our class progression system, and we're going to look at our weapon training. Now, you're going to get 7 of these throughout your levels. For the first one, obviously you're going to want to take Weapon Training Bow. Gives you that nice, sweet, juicy pluses right off the bat, and that's going to stack as you start to level up. So it's just going to keep getting higher and higher and higher, all the way up until you max out, and then you'll have a maximum plus on that. But you're going to want to take that first. For the second, you're going to want to take Trained Initiative. For the third, Fighter's Bravery. For the fourth, Fighter's Reflex. For the fifth, Fighter's Tactics. This way, some of those free perks that you open up later on can specialize into teamwork feats if you so choose to do that. And for number 6, you're going to want to take Combat Maneuvers Defense, I believe is what it's called. Combat Maneuver Defense is what you're going to want to take. And for number 7, that's an open one for you again. Just pick what you want. Next in this class is the Mutation Discoveries. And you're going to get 4 of these throughout your playtime. Your first one coming in at 7. Now, for your first ones, what you're going to want to take, your first 2, is going to be Preserve Organs. The reason why is when a critical hit or a sneak attack is scored, you get a 25% chance that the crit hit or sneak attack is negated and damage is instead rolled normally. So with 2 of these, because they stack with each other abilities like this do not stack on top of it, so don't try and anti-crit yourself. But you're going to take 2 of these, and that's going to give you a 50% chance to straight up just ignore criticals and make them roll just regular damage, which can be a lifesaver if somebody's hitting crits on you. Then for your last 2, you're going to want to take Greater Mutagen and Grand Mutagen. Both of those in whatever order they pop up. And you're going to want to grab those as soon as possible. The reason why is because that's going to open up your mutagen. When you start out at level 3, you'll be getting a mutagen, which will let you either bump your constitution, dexterity, or your strength by +2 while losing a +2 or by going -2 into a mental stat for each respective one. For this build, we're going to be focusing on dexterity. Once you get into Grand and Graders, you're going to want to do dexterity and strength mutagens. And that pretty much concludes the Azata fighters, or the Azata Freedom Fighter. Now, as for your deity, for backstory purposes, we're going to pick Desna. And for your alignment, Chaotic Good, to really open up that sort of, you know, whimsical nature that the Azata like to throw out there, because your person is really inspired by the Azata. And that will be the overall of the character. Now, please do remember that this, at the end of the day, is just a suggestion. Pathfinder is an amazing game that's all about freedom of choice and character creation. I really do encourage you guys to not only play and try this style, but also take it and make it your own. And tell us down in the comments exactly what you did to do that. We would love to hear about it. And with that being said, happy pathfinding. We'll see you in the next one.